David, first of all, thank you for making the time. You know, I mean, you're busy, I'm busy, but it really makes a difference for the people that we're out to serve to find out about the different products that are out there. And as the CEO and the founder of Nationwide Home Loans, I really appreciate the different products that you offer, because look, I run into people all the time that are looking to get into homes and they can't seem to work it out with, you know, the ordinary products that are out there. And, you know, I think your rent to own product is particularly interesting. And then you just have other, you know, you really do sort of go out of your way to make sure people have whatever resources they need to get into a home. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your background, and how you got into the whole home lending business?
Well, my brother actually got me into the business over 30 years ago. He got into the mortgage business a few years before I did, and he's still in the business as well. And so we opened up a company together, and then we kind of split up and decided to do our own thing. And he was more of a hard money lender, and I got into, you know, the purchase money business, and learned it really well, and started doing FHA loans and VA loans and all the loans that make it easier for people to get into homes who are struggling with maybe credit or that sort of thing. And so I moved to Denver in '95, and then we started Nationwide Home Loans at that time, and got approved as an FHA lender. And so I could help more clients. And so really the purchase money business has been my focus, you know, ever since I really started my career. And so about 15 years ago, we started this lease option.
Yeah.
And
just get into the details of that, because I think that's really one of the key pieces, because I don't know anyone else who offers that.
Yeah. The lease option program, you can call it, we kind of call it a rent-to-own program because people don't know what a lease option is.
Right, exactly.
They understand what a rent-to-own is, but lease option, they're not familiar with that term. And lease option is just, you know, it gives the buyer the right to buy the property back at a predetermined price. And so they own the option to buy it back at that price. And the difference between our program and, let's say, Home Partners of America, I don't know if you've heard of that program.
Sure, absolutely.
Is that we're a lender. And because we're a lender, we coach the borrower or buyer exactly what they need to do to get mortgage ready. So we have a much higher success rate because of that. Our success rate is 90%, where they can't boast that high of a percentage. So and all it is basically is allows a client that doesn't qualify just yet for an institutional loan to pick out any house they want in the marketplace. And that's big. That's the probably the most valuable piece is that they can pick out anything.
Yeah, the house that they're living in, you know, landlord, it happens all the time in Seattle. Landlord says, hey, we decided to sell. You got a month to move.
Right.
Or 2 months, right, to get out. And they're set there with a family. That's a perfect opportunity for them to go, oh, wait a minute, maybe we should buy this house. In which case they save the realtor fees. I mean, it's a win-win for everyone in that kind of situation.
Absolutely.
You know, if they're a year or two from being qualified.
Right, right. So so this program allows them to pick out a brand new home. It allows them to really, we encourage them to pick out the home they love. We don't want them to settle. Oftentimes, when a client is not qualified, you know, they're kind of on the fringe of not being approved. They tend to pick out the first home they see.
Yeah.
But this program allows them to be a lot more choosy. We want them to really love that home, and because we want them to be happy there for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's the benefit of that program. The Home Partners of America doesn't allow them to pick out any home they want.
Yeah, the Home Partners of America is is a whole different episode, but their deal is it's got to be within the top 10%, 15% of high schools in the state, and the monthly lease price is more expensive.
Yeah, and they keep on going up, and ours doesn't. Ours stays the same until they exercise their option.
Yeah, that's the thing I really thought was interesting about yours in particular, is that given you are the lender at the end of the lease, right? You're vested in making sure that the people that sign up, the people that are pre-qualified, have a real pathway, have a real shot at winning. Home Partners of America doesn't actually really care, particularly if you make it or not, because they're getting an increased month and they keep the house. But you wouldn't have someone get into the game if you couldn't see the end result as a win for them.
Exactly. That's exactly.
Yeah, really great.
Oftentimes the lease option program is not, even though they may have the down payment, I tell people all the time that, this is not the right program for you. It's better if you wait. If you just wait a little while, I'll show you how to get into this home with a lot less cash. Sometimes it is the right program, sometimes it isn't. And so what we do is we determine which program, which pathway to homeownership will be the right one for each person, because each person's situation is different. So
and minimum down on that loan, on that program, is 10%.
10% down is the minimum down payment for that program. If a person doesn't have the 10% to put down, but they have a good job, let's say their credit is suffering, I still want to talk to those people, because I can help them. I can help them get their credit where it needs to be. I can tell them exactly what they need to do to get their credit, and it doesn't have to cost them a dime. I'll show them how to get their credit where it needs to be for free. And so if they have a good job and they are working towards getting their credit improved, within 6 months they can get into a home with 3.5% down, or with
that's such a big deal, David. I talk about it all the time. The last video I think I put out was where you need to start is with a lender, and that's such a big deal to get your credit pulled now, because it doesn't take that long to get it right if you're working with someone and you know what it is. It's really just about creating a future for yourself that works, and pulling your credit early is the number one thing, and people avoid doing it. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's probably fear of the unknown, basically. So it doesn't matter what their credit situation is. I don't care if their credit scores are in the 400s. I mean, we've helped people take a home that they were about to lose in foreclosure, and partner up with a realtor to sell their home. And take that equity and move it into a lease option. Work with them for the next 2 years until their credit was where it needed to be for an FHA loan, and then we did their loan. So we preserved their equity. We got them into another home of their choice. And a situation like that, normally what would have happened is they would have lost their home, and they would have been forced out and forced into a rental that they didn't want to be in. And they'd have
the foreclosure on their record.
Right, and they would have had a foreclosure on their record. So we were able to help. Over the last 15 years, we've helped people like that preserve their equity. We've helped people, who maybe be in the middle of a divorce. We've helped people who are self-employed and they write everything off and they can't seem to get into another home. We've helped people who've been self-employed for less than 2 years. There's so many different reasons why somebody would want this program or need this.
Yeah. And like you said, I mean, I think the most important part is once they engage, once they take that very first step and they reach out and able to look with a professional like you at their situation, at their particular situation, because everyone's different. There's no two borrowers that are alike, no two home shoppers that are alike. But once they look at their particular situation, you can then see, okay, this is not the program for you, or this is the program for you, or here, what about this? Or if we did this for 6, I mean, you could then begin to create a pathway to a future that really works, which is, you know, you're not going to, people aren't going to do in their head by themselves.
Right. So this,
Yeah, good.
There's two types of, two programs actually that we offer. One is the lease option program that requires 10% down. And one is the owner financing program that requires 20% down. So we would actually owner finance the home of their choice with 20% down.
Great. Well, so tell me more about that. Explain what that program means.
So that's where a buyer who doesn't qualify for an institutional loan right now, but has 20% to put down, can actually take title to the home. And instead of owning the option to buy it back at a predetermined price, they actually already own the home. So that within 6 months, a year, 2 years, however long it takes, doesn't matter. We at that point will refinance their home. Instead of it being a purchase, it then becomes a refinance. And sometimes it's easier to refinance out of this program than it is to exercise an option to purchase. And where it becomes easier is if they have a down payment that is coming from some source that they can't verify. Some people have a hard time verifying, you know, where that money is coming from, because when you do a lease option, you have to verify where you have to source that money. Whereas a refinance, you don't. You're on title, and you're on title. They don't care where your money came from. You're on title. So sometimes it's better for a person to do the owner financing program than it is the lease option. It ends up being a higher payment for them on the owner financing program than it does the lease option program. But sometimes it's better for them. So it just depends.
Right.
It depends.
Yeah.
And again, there's so many different programs out there now with bank statement loans and P&L loans and asset loans. There's so many different options out there for a client that what our goal is to find the program that one saves them the most amount of money and in the long run saves them the most amount of money and getting them into a home of their choice.
Great. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really the all the professionals that I work with have that in mind, right? What is going to be the best possible solution for this particular client in this particular case, because it changes all the time. You know, what's right for you this year is not necessarily the best deal next year. What you were told 2 years ago clearly has no bearing on reality today. Interest rates change, programs change, the market changes. So it really is get qualified early and often. You know what I mean? Get the facts of the situation straight. David, anything else that you want, you know, potential home buyers to know about either your company or just in general about the market?
It's important to know that what we're doing, the reason why we have such a high success rate is that when we get somebody into a home on a lease option or an owner financing deal, we're in touch with that client all the time, working with them until they're mortgage ready. We don't let them alone. We just keep on working with them, following up with them, making sure they're doing everything we tell them they have to do to get mortgage ready, to get the best rate possible. Because what our end game is I really believe that people should, number one, be in the home they love, find the home they love, not settle. Number two, work on a plan of becoming debt-free. Once they're in the home, I'll show them strategies how to pay off that home faster than normal, so that they end up with no debt on their home, their car, their credit cards. They're completely debt-free. And then once they're completely debt-free, I want to show them how to build wealth by using real estate investment strategies to grow a passive income.
Great.
And so so that's the first goal. Find a home they love, pay it off, and then use the extra cash that they would have been paying on that home to grow true passive income, so they can eventually go, okay, you know what, I want to do what God has created me to do, and what I'm passionate about doing, and what He's purposed me to do, and focus on that.
Great. Really brilliant, David. It's really, so really when people work with you, they're not just getting a lender, they're getting a partner for their financial future, someone who really cares about what's happening next for them.
Exactly.
Yeah, great. I really appreciate it. That's really one of the things that I really appreciate about you, and really got as we've been working together and talking over, the past months, that real commitment to contribute and make a difference it's clear in the communication. So it's and the people I've sent to you, that's always been the case. So, anything else, just you want to let people know before we sign off?
I think that's it for now.
All right, great. Well, David, thank you very, very much for your time. I really appreciate that. And if people have questions, I'll put all your information below, your email and your phone number, so people can reach out to you directly or through me. And either way, thanks for coming by the YouTube channel, guys. And if there's anything I can help you with, let us know. Talk to you later.